Hi guys, what's up? This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while now, but since I finally got to watch the newly released Let It Be, I think now would be the perfect time to do it. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of the Beatles. I love their albums, I love their music, I love the solo stuff, especially George, but we'll get to that in another video. But, amongst other things, because I am a fan of movies, and because I talk about movies a lot on this channel, I figured I'd work the Beatles into this. I was originally going to do an album ranking for the Beatles, but I figured that this would fit my channel more, so instead, I'm going to be doing a ranking of all 5 of the Beatles movies. Those 5 movies in question are A Hard Day's Night, Help, Magical Mystery Tour, Yellow Submarine, and Let It Be. I'm going to be ranking all 5 of those movies from worst to best, and I'm really excited to get into it. Make sure to subscribe. 215 at this point, and my All Things Must Pass edit is up to like 2K, which is awesome. Thanks for the support. So let's get into the video. I hope you guys enjoy. At number 5, and this is an easy number 5, I have Magical Mystery Tour. This is a movie that I actually made an entire video about and worked really hard on it too, but because of maybe like one thing I put in there, it got taken out for copyright, so unless any of you hack into my account, you'll probably never see it, which is a shame because I really liked that video, but I guess I included a certain scene and there was not really a way to cut it out, so it's just a shame because it was a good video. But I will definitely get into it right now because Magical Mystery Tour is extremely nonsensical, it's not good at all, and there's no plot to it. And I understand why some people would say, well, it's kind of just an experience, you know, I'm here for the ride, and I sort of get that. Obviously, I don't hate Magical Mystery Tour as much as I did when I was younger. In fact, I still find it interesting, but it still sucks. It's still not a good movie. Like, it's not really a movie. It's just you hanging out with the Beatles who are high on LSD for like 50 minutes or so. And people are going to say the music videos are good. And yeah, the music videos are fine. I especially like the music video for I'm the Walrus, but they never really connect to the movie as far as I'm concerned. Besides Blue Jay Way, they don't really connect to what's going on with the characters, and it kind of just seems like the people that are doing the songs are different from the people that the Beatles are playing in the movie. Also, what the fuck? Barely any of these Beatles, besides, you know, their songs, they don't really get much to do, especially my favorite Beatle, George Harrison. And I know this might be a personal thing, but he has maybe like 2 lines in this entire thing, and like, why would you waste George that much? He was already so good in Help and A Hard Day's Night. Why would you waste his acting talent? I mean, Richard Lester, the director of both of those films, said that he was easily the best actor out of the 4, and he's just completely wasted in this one. But then again, it was made by the Beatles, and maybe George just didn't want to be in that much of it. But still, I mean, I don't get it. This is a movie that is literally only 51 minutes, but it feels like forever when you first watch it. And if you don't skip that spaghetti scene, then you might be insane, because like I could never get through that. Even the first time I watched it, I knew where I was going and I didn't like it, so I just didn't watch it because no way. I'm not going to do it. But yeah, Magical Mystery Tour is just not a movie at all, and there's not a plot. I can't really even talk about this as a real thing because it's just not my favorite. And I would like to say, I enjoy every one of these movies beyond this point. So if I rank something, you know, a little low, then it shouldn't matter that much because I like every other movie, and it's a huge jump from this into the next movie on our ranking. At number 4, I have the Beatles animated movie from 1968, Yellow Submarine. Now, I love this movie. My friend Brody, who you saw in my latest video, this is his favorite movie of all time. And yeah, I love it too. It was a huge piece of my childhood. I used to get the DVD for this at the library all the time. And when I have kids, I'm going to recommend this to them. I'm going to have them watch it over and over because this is what they should be watching. I mean, there is a scene where there's like a monster smoking a cigarette. That doesn't matter because, you know, it's just such a good movie, and I could definitely see children audiences liking this. And yeah, I think one of my biggest nitpicks, or I have 2 nitpicks. One of them is that I think the music, there's a little too much music in it. I would have liked more dialogue between these characters, especially it's only a northern song. Like, That's one of my least favorite George Harrison songs. God love the man, but it's just not a good track. And yeah, it just feels like a time waster. And another big problem is that I wish that the Beatles voiced themselves, because I love the people that voiced the Beatles. I mean, it definitely had me fooled when I was younger, because I thought that the Beatles were actually voicing themselves. But no, and that just kind of sucks, because they didn't really have too much interest in the project. They kind of just got it released because, like, they had to. But I don't know. It would have been cool to see them voice themselves. But this movie is iconic, and even the Beatles themselves, when they watched it, they really, really, really liked it, and they admitted that it was a pretty good movie. I like it. I think it's not perfect by any means, but I like it, and I think the animation is really, really, really good for 1968. Like, literally, this is amazing, and it came to the point where, like, there were thousands of people working on the art for this movie, so it took a lot of people to bring this to life, and watching it on Blu-ray, it just looks incredible. But yeah, this is a great movie, and one of my favorite animated movies ever. I mean, it's not perfect by any means. I don't think it's, like, too good, but it's definitely a really good movie, and I would recommend it to child audiences, besides the tobacco usage. At number 3, I have Let It Be. Now, let me set the scene for you. I watched this one time on some sort of pirating movie website. I don't remember what it was called, but I watched it one time, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. I just didn't remember it that much, but I thought it was okay. And then Get Back came out. Amazing. I might do a whole video on that, because, like, there's so much to dive into. Or I could just link to you the Elliot Roberts video about it, because that basically goes over all of it. But anyways, holy shit. Get Back was incredible. And I own Get Back, and I think one of the disappointing things for a lot of people was that A, they didn't include the full rooftop concert without interruptions, and B, a lot of people were expecting them to include the, high quality version of the Let It Be movie and finally re-release it for like the first time in a very long time, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But now, it finally has restoration, it's in 4K quality, clear as day, and it's on Disney Plus now, and I love it, okay? I understand that, people are probably going to be like, Baylor, there's so much music in Yellow Submarine, but there's so much music in this too, so why do you like this one more? Well, it's because we get to see the Beatles, actually. In Yellow Submarine, you're not seeing the Beatles, you're just seeing a bunch of animated people being voiced by people that sound like the Beatles, and when there's songs, it's so clearly dubbed by studio versions. But here, we get to see them sing, and there are even times where we see them perform the studio versions of the songs that we hear on the albums, and it's just incredible. Like, this movie is really, really, really good. One of my complaints about Get Back was that they didn't include the studio performance that happened after the rooftop performance, but they have it in this, and it's incredible. You get to see the Beatles perform Two of Us, Let It Be, and Long and Winding Road, and these are like the naked versions of the songs, so they sound amazing. And before that, it was great too. I love seeing them jam out at Abbey Road Studios in Twickenham, and I'd arguably say that there's more joy in this movie than Get Back. I mean, I like Get Back more, but in this movie, they skip over a lot of scenes that show the band at their worst, especially, George quitting the band. But I really like this movie. I'm so glad it was re-released. I just love seeing the Beatles perform together, and I don't know, as a Beatles fan, like, if I saw this in the theaters in the 70s, I would not be let down by it, because it's pretty damn good, and I think there are definitely some things that Michael Lindsay Hogg could have put into the movie so that it wasn't just song, 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 talking, and then song, song, song. But to be honest, I don't mind the way it is, because it's kind of a classic to me at this point, and the music that they're singing is just timeless, so I gotta give it up to Let It Be. It's a very good movie. I would recommend this to any Beatles fans out there, because it's just so great to see them perform, and it's incredible. It's a really good movie, and I would like to say that this and Yellow Submarine are very close together. Alright, at number 2, I have A Hard Day's Night. Just like Yellow Submarine, a very nostalgic movie for me. I don't know which one's more nostalgic, this or Yellow Submarine. It might be this, because I got this at the library, like, a handful of times, and I would never get tired of it. I mean, like, holy shit. Like, when I was younger, a movie had to be, like, you know, either a kid's movie or just funny for me to like it, and yeah, this movie had everything. It was black and white, but it didn't even bother me when I was a kid. I still love it because the Beatles bring so much color to this film. It's just great. I understand that people could have some complaints about this movie not having a plot, but I think in the end that's kind of why I like it, because it's just kind of a day in the life of the Beatles as kind of like cartoon versions of themselves. It's really, really, really good. I think there's some hilarious jokes that still hold up today, and I just love the Beatles in this. Like, there's not one of them that do a bad job, you know? I remember I was just mesmerized by watching this. From the first lines, I was like, my God, the Beatles are acting in a movie. This is my dream come true. And I've watched it so many other times since, and I actually own it now, which I'm pretty happy about. And it's just such a great movie. It's such a fun film showing the Beatles at the peak of their powers. And if you guys are wondering, I think the best actor in this is either George or Ringo. Yeah, justice for George and Ringo. They're both really great in this. Ringo obviously has that scene where he's walking alone with the instrumental of This Boy playing in the background, which is kind of a standout. And George has a scene where he kind of trashes on a fashion line. That's always pretty funny. And John and Paul are great too. Like, John, I mean, he's hilarious in real life, but in this, like, any line that he says will automatically be a joke. Like, there's so many moments from him that are amazing in this and just hilarious, and he just kind of lights up the screen. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to play any scenes from the movie, from any of these movies for you, because that's exactly why my Magical Mystery Tour got taken down. I'd probably just watch the movie for yourself, because it's incredible. It's on Max. If any of you guys have that, I would highly recommend it if you are a Beatles fan. But yeah, really, really, really great movie. And honestly, this was my number one pick for a while now, but it has been overtaken by one movie. But before we get into that, I figured I'd go over some honorable mentions, movies that are Beatles movies but aren't necessarily fitting the criteria for this video. All 5 of these movies were films that the Beatles released themselves when they were still a group. Now, the movies I'll be talking about are some that were, you know, not released when they were a group. Okay, Beatles Anthology is great. It's not a movie, but it's pretty great. I own it, actually. I own the box set, and it was fun watching it for the first time. Hearing the insights of the 3 remaining Beatles, and even John at some points too, since he had a lot of revealing stuff to say about the group in some interviews from the 70s. But yeah, that was amazing. And then Get Back, obviously I already mentioned that, is great. I don't really have much else to say. I think this honorable mentions list was a little unnecessary, but let's move into the number 1 pick, and I think this will probably stay my number 1 pick. At number 1, I have Help. This movie is amazing. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say this is like Schindler's List. You know, like peak cinema. You know, it's just like, oh my God, it's dramatic. The performances are great. No, I like this from a comedic standpoint, and I'm sorry, but it really is that. From a comedic and musical standpoint, it's great. I mean, I love music, I love comedy, and it just is the perfect blend of it. Like, it's so good, and the funny part is, the plot of the movie is kind of dark, you know, with people trying to hunt down Ringo and literally try to kill him because he's wearing a sacrificial ring. But the movie is so wacky that you completely forget about that. Like, all 4 of these Beatles, despite them being high for most of the time they're on the set, they're even more charming and charismatic than they were in A Hard Day's Night. And it's just amazing to see them work their magic, as they're all even better than they were in A Hard Day's Night. It's so good. The restoration of it on my Blu-ray copy of it is just insane. I love seeing the Beatles in color, and it really does not feel like it's from the 60s at all. But yeah, it's so good. I remember watching Help a little bit as a kid. I watched it on my Kindle because I had never owned it, and it wasn't on a streaming service. So I just watched it on my Kindle occasionally, or, you know, on my Chromebook. And then eventually, after years of wanting to get it, I now own it, and I've watched it a ton of times since. I've watched it by myself, with my grandpa and with my dad, and it's just such an enjoyable movie, you know? Like, Obviously, I love movies that have won Oscars and have like incredible performances, but if there's ever a movie to just cheer me up and have a good time with, it's this. And I think it's one of the best examples of that, as it's one of my favorite comedic films of all time, because the Beatles are just like, it's jokes per second in this, and it's just amazing. I love this movie. Like, there's so much shit that happens in the span of like hour 32 minutes, and I think it's just so fantastic. It's also got a great soundtrack. I think not only is Help the movie like my favorite Beatles movie, the album Help, while it's not my favorite Beatles album, it's damn near. Like, it's one of my personal favorites, and I think it's really slept on. I love Help. I think everyone should watch it. It's not on a streaming service, unfortunately, but I think you should buy it. I think someone should buy it if you're a Beatles fan and watch it for the first time, because it really is that good. Alright, everybody, that's about it. I hope you guys liked the video. This is my personal ranking of the Beatles films. If the comments are turned on this time, because I honestly don't know how to fucking turn them on. If they're on this time, let me know your ranking in the comments, or just tell me what your favorite one is. But yeah, this is my ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to point out that I own 3 of the 5 movies I mentioned. Let It Be's on Disney Plus, obviously. Magical Mystery Tour. Obviously, I don't own that. It sucks. But Yellow Submarine I have on Blu-ray. Hard Day's Night I have on DVD, and I own Help on Blu-ray, thankfully. I'm so glad I own that. Along with Get Back and Anthology I also own. But yeah, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to tap a like and subscribe. See ya.